Hi everyone. Thank you for joining us today for the Science of Tackling, brought to you by Atavus Football as part of the Hudl Blitz 21 Coaches Summit. Today, we are going to be going over Tacklytics here at Atavus. This is our analytics database and system that we use to analyze tackling and provide key data-driven actionable insights for programs across the country. My name is Jacob Swilley, and I am the Junior Operations Manager here at Atavus, and have been with Atavus since 2018. We will begin today by going over our background and mission here at Atavus, and how we are handling a changing game. We'll then dive into our philosophy surrounding our Atavus tackle system, technique, and some of the coaching tools and resources that we provide. This will help give you context to our Tacklytics as we discuss it during the rest of the presentation. Next, we'll look at our Tacklytics and how our data-driven approach provides actionable insights for players and coaches. And lastly, we'll look at some of the advancements we are making with Tacklytics and how it's currently evolving and some of the new innovative reports that we provide. Regarding our background and mission, we will first begin by looking at how our game is changing and how Atavus plays a key role in it today. We'll look at some of the proven results of those that we have worked with regarding performance and safety, and lastly, what some of the coaches and players that we have worked with say and think about us. With continued information coming out, we know that it's the frequency of head contact in practice and in games that contributes to injuries and players missing time. The game has changed. We're now focusing on removing the head from contact and giving increased attention to head, neck, and shoulder injuries collectively. Our conclusion is that we can increase injury prevention and performance through proper technique. Given how our game is changing, Atavus has stepped in to educate coaches, help them improve performance, inspire confidence, and increase safety. We'll take a look now at some of our proven results as it relates to both performance and safety. When it comes to defensive performance, we understand that there are multiple factors that contribute to the outcome of a game. We believe, though, that tackling is one of them. If you look here, you'll look at some of our clients over the last few years. Look at their stats when it comes to defensive points per game before Atavus and after their first year of working with us. In each of these cases, you can see that there is a proven drop in points per game at every level. When it comes to safety as well, you can see the same trend follow. Looking here at some of our first year clients back in 2019, Baylor, Texas Tech, Oklahoma, and SMU. You can see in week 1, 14% head contact, which to us is significantly high. And as they continue to work with us throughout the year, you see that number continually drop all the way until under 4% at the end of the year, which is a great number to have. We've also worked with professionals in the medical field, such as Dr. Art Mirlander from the University of Nebraska, who was a major contributor to the return to play protocol. Looking at a study that we conducted back in 2015 with Nebraska, we looked at head contact frequency before Atavus and after using the Atavus tackle system, and concluded that over the year, we saw a 46% drop in head contact instances using our system. Ultimately, it was concluded that creating a system for tackling improves the retention of good tackling techniques, and that anticipation and awareness help reduce concussions. This is what the Atavus tackle system aims to do. Now, let's quickly look and think what some coaches and players think about Atavus. Here are some of the coaches we work with and have worked with. Coach Matt Rule, who we worked with at Baylor, and now who's at Carolina. Coach Fickle from Cincinnati, and Coach Ash, who we worked with at Ohio State and Rutgers, who is now with Jacksonville. And ultimately, they all said the same thing, came to the same conclusion. And that when it comes to tackling, Atavus helped them improve their both performance and safety, and really enhance what they did as a program. We're also working with players at the highest level too. Here's All-Pro linebacker Bobby Wagner. He says that Atavus is working hard to develop ways that allow coaches to teach their players the appropriate way to tackle. At all levels, players and coaches need to be educated on the proper ways to tackle and the dangers of improper tackling. Now, we will begin to go into the Atavus philosophy and look more into our technique, starting with tackle types and tackle situations. Our philosophy is made up of four main pillars. The first is to identify types of tackles, which leads into our second point, and this is to help increase situational awareness. We also look at every tackle and analyze and label every issue associated with it. Lastly, we want to make sure to create a universal language between coaches and players so everyone is on the same page. When we talk about identifying tackle situations, we break it down into two types of situations. The first is positive. Here we're focusing on maximizing power and control, and the defender now has the ability to knock the runner backwards. Our second type of situation is a negative situation. Here, the focus is just on control because the defender no longer has the ability to knock the runner backwards. Within each tackle situation, we have two distinct tackle types. In a positive situation, we have profile and angle tackles. The goal still is here to maximize power and control and knock the runner backwards. Here's an example of a positive situation, specifically a profile tackle. You'll see the highlighted defender come downhill towards the runner, make contact in a profile situation, and knock the runner backwards. In negative situations, we have two tackle types, which are lateral and chase. The goal here is to maximize control of the runner and get him to the ground as efficiently as possible. This is because the tackler no longer has the ability to knock the runner backwards and maximize power. Here's an example of a negative situation where the highlighted D lineman makes a lateral tackle going down the line of scrimmage. Now let's quickly look over the technique portion and how we look to maximize power and control by looking at the tackle as a two-step process. We will only quickly go over our technique as the goal of this presentation is to focus on the analytics. But in order to understand the analytics, you do need some knowledge of our technique to give you perspective. Again, our philosophy is to maximize both power and control. To maximize power, we're looking to strike with the same foot and same shoulder into contact. And at maximize control, we're looking to punch past the runner and make an effective wrap and squeeze to bring the runner to the ground. As previously mentioned, we look at tackling as a two-step process. We break it down into pre-contact and contact. In pre-contact, this is everything leading up to the tackle itself, getting into contact. We're looking to control our movement, have good footwork with a shoulder width base going into contact to be able to maximize power and control. Now when we get into contact, we're looking to make effective contact with the shoulder within the strike zone and again punch past the runner. In pre-contact, we break this part of the tackling process into three zones: the evaluation zone, decision zone, and action zone. Our goals here are to have controlled movement and to maximize contact. Within each of these zones, we dive further into our technique. In the evaluation zone, this is when the tackler first identifies himself as a tackler and begins to close space and limit the runner's options. In the decision zone, he has to decide what kind of angles to take and maintain leverage towards the ball carrier. And he's looking to target for shoulder contact. In the action zone, this is just before contact is made, where the tackler is looking to have great footwork and maximize force and momentum into the tackle. The important thing to note here is that when we talk about pre-contact, all of these elements happen sequentially. So the evaluation zone comes first, then the decision zone, and finally the action zone. Here's a good example of what all of our pre-contact elements look like when they come together. First, The tackler gets off the block, continuously closes space towards the runner, maintains effective leverage, and finally finishes with good footwork going into contact with an effective base. Now let's talk about the second step of the process, contact. Our goals for contact are to maximize now power and control, and develop good strike timing. Within contact, we still have three important elements. Body position, where we want to have good pad level and a neutral neck to maximize power and make safe contact. The strike portion, we're looking to maximize power and control by striking with the near shoulder and making an effective punch. And lastly, the finish portion, where now we're looking to maintain the power and control we created by having an effective leg drive and making an effective wrap and squeeze on the runner. Now when it comes to the contact portion, unlike pre-contact, all the elements that occur in contact happen simultaneously. So when we strike with a good pad level, the near shoulder, and have an effective finish, all that is occurring at the same time. Here we have an example of all elements coming together. As the tackler approaches, he looks to maximize power and control by striking with the same foot and same shoulder into contact, and making contact within the strike zone of the runner, which is between the chest and the runner's knees. Getting into contact makes an effective punch and shoulder strike, and continues to drive his legs and make an effective wrap. Next, we will look at drill development and how we use drill variation and different types of drills to help athletes continue to get better. Let's first look at our drill types. We have technical, decision-making, and game-based. In technical, these are coach-directed, where we want to focus on movement execution and making sure that our athletes execute the proper skills. In decision-making, we're giving the runner 1 to 2 options for the drill. This allows the defender or the tackler to now have to react to what the runner is doing. And lastly, in a game-based drill, this is where now the runner has all the options he wants to try and beat the tackler. Now the tackler has to focus on executing all the proper skills in a chaotic game-like situation. The reason why we break our drills down into these types of drills is because football is a chaotic game, and we need drills to simulate that and create drills to test skills in those situations. Players need to keep progressing and stay engaged by continuing to focus on in technical drills the movement execution, and then building upon it by developing their decision-making skills and simulating it and practicing it in a game-like situation. The next step in our drill development is drill variation. This is where we can essentially take the same setup of a drill without having to change anything. We can change the focus to focus on different parts of the technique. In the closed angle drill, we have a full evolution from closed angle drill to choice to game. The first closed angle drill is a technical drill, where we're just going to simply focus on executing the proper technique, and each player is told which way they're going to go. In the closed angle choice, the runner now has the option to go right or left on his own, and this forces the defender to have to make a decision and react to the runner as he moves through the drill. In the closed angle game, this is our game-based drill, where now the runner can go right or left or make any move he wishes, and this puts pressure like a game would on the tackler to focus on tracking the runner. There are a couple benefits to drill variation. One, as a coach, it makes practice a lot more efficient. The reason why is now that you can change the focus of the drill, you don't have to worry about continually changing the setup and taking time out of practice to do so. But also from a player standpoint, players now get to build upon their skills and progress into game-type situations from the technical drill. In the technical drill, you're focusing on the movement execution, and from there you can keep building on the same skills and simulate more game-like situations and allow the tackler to have to make decisions. Here's a quick look of all of our drills that we have in our drill library and all the fields and types of drills that they cover. As you can see, we have multiple drills that can be varied between technical, decision-making, and/or game-based. Lastly, in this section, we are going to look at some of the coaching resources that Atavus offers. One of our main resources is our Digital Tackling Academy. Our DTA contains the tools you need to learn and implement shoulder-led tackling. You will find our set of comprehensive tools you need to learn and implement the Atavus approach. What comes included is the ability to learn the Atavus tackle system, similar to what we've gone over today, access to tackling certification, learning how to implement the tackle system within your program, access to our extensive drill library and sample tackle plans, and lastly, examples and access to our tackle talks, which dive further into our tackling and Atavus technique. Now looking at our drill library, it goes much more beyond just the drill setup. For each drill in our extensive library, look at the drill setup, instructions, and coaching points to look for visual cues and other things when running the drill with your athletes. You also get a video that shows examples of how the drill should be run, along with those key coaching points. Now let's get into the focus of this presentation, the science of tackling and our tacklytics. We'll first look at what makes an effective tackler, and then look at the type of data that we examine and analyze. So now what is an effective tackler? Here we have 2 tacklers for a given game. Both made 9 out of 10 tackles, which in general would seem like a great job. However, when we take a further look into how effective really each tackler was, we can see there is a big difference. In player A, he had a 70% effectiveness rating, and player B had a 30% rating. Our effectiveness rating is determined by how many yaks a player gives up for each tackle. You can see player A had 1 missed tackle and only 2 poor tackles, but had 5 effective and 2 dominant. Whereas player B is highlighted, he had 6 poor tackles and gave up 38 yaks as opposed to player A's 16. The next piece Atavus offers is our insights. Not only are we going to offer the data that comes with each tackle and each tackler, we're going to offer the why. We're going to be able to explain why the tackler was successful or why he wasn't, and what he needs to focus on going into next week. So here I have the breakdown of our data. We look at 80 different or more data points in every single tackle, but here are just some of the main ones we look at. So on the left, we have our quantitative data. And under the tackle data section, we're looking at the tackle types and situations that we discussed before. The yards from scrimmage, which is where the tackler makes contact, how many yards from scrimmage the tackler makes contact with the runner. The yards after contact, primary contact, what part of the body does the tackler make contact with the runner, and then tackle credit, first, unassisted, made or missed. This leads to our key metrics. So we're looking at our tackles made percentage, our tackle effectiveness percentage that we previously discussed, the total yak and yards given up by a player or team, the yak average of a player or team, which is how many yaks a player or team gives up per attempt, and then shoulder and head contact percentage. So how often are they making contact with their shoulder or their head? On the right, we have our qualitative data. This is broken down into pre-contact and contact, and these are the elements we discussed in the technique portion. So closing space, maintaining leverage, having good footwork, and then maintaining a good body position, effective strike, and finish. And so what we do with these is we will take each element and record how often they either executed the element correctly or incorrectly. And this really provides the why to the key metrics that we talked about on the left. So for example, if a tackles made percentage was significantly low and we noticed that, we would go to the qualitative section and be able to see that when most of his tackles were missed, or when a player's tackles were missed, it would show what element occurred the most in terms of being executed incorrectly. So if he had a low tackle percentage, tackles made percentage, and on every missed tackle, or the majority of missed tackles, he had a near shoulder issue. We would make note of that, put that in a report, and say for next week either the tackler or as a team needs to focus on making near shoulder contact to avoid missed tackles. And so again, that's the biggest thing when we compare the quantitative and qualitative data, is that we give the why as to why everything's happening, be able to explain and give actionable insights for you as a coach and for your players as well to be able to continually improve on the areas you need to. We'll now get into our Tacklytics grading and reporting process. We'll look at exactly how the grading process works and then show you some of the team reports and coaches portal that are offered to coaches to be able to review their team's performance. And lastly, we'll show you how we break down your performance and give you insights within Hudl itself. So taking a look at our grading process, when we work with a program, we have their folder inserted into our database. For each game, we'll upload the given tackles based on the situational data given by that program, and then begin reviewing their film. So as we watch the film, we're looking for some of those key, we're looking for all of those key data points that we discussed in the data breakdown slide. As we watch film and watch tackles, we'll make note of everything that we see from the quantitative data, tackle types, primary contact, yards from scrimmage, and break down the qualitative data as well, saying which elements were executed correctly or incorrectly on a given play. So once the grading process is completed for a game, we have our Tacklytics reports generated and available to coaches. Our Tacklytics is the first and only tackling database with comprehensive analysis and innovative reporting. Our team reports offer a breakdown of Atavus' key performance indicators at the team, position, and player levels. You'll be able to look at and notice team trends, access to position-specific data and individual player assessments, and you'll also be given actionable insights as to what the team, the player, or a position group needs to work on going forward or what they did well. You also have the ability to look at situational analysis, and this is all performance and coach education focused. So here's an example of our team reports that we offer in Tacklytics. The left is a team report, in the middle we have our position report, and on the right we have our individual player report. On the left you can see highlighted in yellow would be the given game that the report is for, as well as all the data up to date for each game previously played. In the box above it, you'll also see our insights section, where for next week we're giving you insights into things you need to work on as a program, things a specific player may need to work on or position group needs to work on going forward, and really helps you focus on the important things they need to get better at. In the middle section, the same sort of suit follows, but now it breaks it down further into position groups. This is great for giving to position coaches who only need to look at maybe their position group's data and don't really want to worry about, or if you don't want them to worry about the team data as a whole. Again, trying to simplify it for coaches as much as can. And lastly, on the right, you'll be able to look at player-specific data. So you'll be able to look at attempts, effectiveness ratings, and so on for each individual player during the game. And it has it broken down by position groups as well. So this has been a great tool to be able to use with players. We've had programs put these sheets, especially the player-focused one, on board in the locker room and use it as motivation to be transparent with players and things of that nature. The other reporting platform our coaches have access to is our online coaches portal. The coaches portal provides an extensive interactive database allowing coaches to choose which data is most important to them by giving them the ability to filter and manipulate key performance indicators, charts, and graphs. So again, this will be able to show you team trends. You'll have interactive databases, the ability to adjust charts and graphs to look at the information you want to look at. You'll have instant access to games and seasonal data. Each element execution breakdown as well. So now if you want to look at the why, as we do on our end, as to which elements pre-contact or contacted, the key factors in your performance, you can do that as well. And then in this platform, you also have access to our drill library and the videos that come with it. Now we'll take a look at a coach's portal. Here you can see that this is a landing page for a report for the given game. The graph shows a breakdown by quarter for whatever metric you are looking at. You're able to break it down by your total defense or by position group. And then able to filter by different metrics, such as tackle effectiveness, yak, missed tackles, and so on. Below, you have some of our other key performance indicators that we've discussed for the given game, along with the key Atavus insights again, using the data to drive what you need to work on as a program going into next week. We then go to the dashboard page, where again you'll see those key performance indicators for the given game below, but they'll also be compared to those your KPIs for the season. The graph above can also show you data if you worked with us for multiple years by year, and filter it again by those key metrics. Getting into a Tacklytics Explorer, now we're able to view those elements as I discussed before in pre-contact and contact and their contribution to the outcome of your tackling performance. So what these graphs are showing you is, depending on what metric you're looking at, is how often when that element was executed incorrectly did it contribute to either yards after contact, missed tackles, or your tackle performance. And so you can break it down by tackle situation, positive, negative, or positive to negative. And again, look at different metrics you wish to. Tackle effectiveness, yak, explosive plays, and so on. So again, just providing you and your coaching staff the why of, behind your performance. Then we can just quickly view our drill library. As you can see, very extensive with each drill. Be able to click on it, access the drill sheet with the coaching points and instructions for setup, along with the drill video that does the same and shows examples of how the drill should be run. After analyzing your game and running the reports, we're now able to put some of that data back into Hudl and give you what we call cut-ups. And our cut-ups are those teachable moments that we find throughout a game, about 10 to 15 clips that we really want to focus on going into next week improving. And then it also gives a great visual example to you and your players of some of the main points that were discussed or that are brought up in the reports. So within Hudl, you'll be able to see the tackle type, tackle grade, the issue, the focus, and the comment we make on how to get better at that specific example. From there, we'll be able to share the film with you, and you'll be able to have access to those reports to use with your players and the rest of your coaching staff. So to wrap up this section, we want to focus on the data-driven tackle plans that we give to programs each week. So every tackle plan that we provide is data-driven. What this means is we review the data and the trends that we see from the week's previous game for a program and use that to determine what drills we will use going forward in order to focus on the areas that we see need to be most improved on. So in the layout, you have the drills that are broken down by each practice for the given week. You have the focus areas of the things we need, we want the program to focus on going into that week whether it be the type of tackling drills we're working on or the specific elements for the week that are focused. So for this sample plan, closing space and tracking the visual cues for movement of the runner would be our main areas. On the bottom portion, we have each of the drills laid out for the given day, along with the drill focus, player focus, and a drill image for setup. So in the drill focus, again, as a coach, these are the things you want to make sure your players hit on and that you reiterate as you go through. And on the player focus, this is more the level of contact that we're using. So with us, that could be anywhere from palms down to thud to live, along with any additional notes that we want to include, such as adding a blocker to a drill, etc. In this last section, we'll look at the types of advancements in reporting that Atavus is making and the evolution of Tacklytics. We'll start first by looking at what we call our AD dashboard. So our AD dashboard provides athletic departments and programs the data to review and improve player safety. It gives head contact and tackle safety data, previous game, season average, and season total data, weekly head contact analysis, and a detailed safety elements breakdown. In the top portion of the sheet to the right, you can see tackle opportunities with contact, and head contact percentage broken down by the previous week, season average, and your season total, as well as to the left, based on the previous week, how much it differs from your season average. So in this case, only 0.5% increase in head contact, which is labeled in red. If it was a decrease in head contact from your season average, it would be labeled in green. Below in the chart, we see a breakdown of head contact analysis by week, along with the season average for your school and the overall high school season average of our clients. In the bottom portion, we have our tackle safety data. Now these include the elements that we discussed as part of contact, which is pad level, spine and line, which means having a neutral neck going into contact, and striking with the near shoulder. We believe that executing these elements properly contribute to being a much safer tackler and athlete. The chart to the left shows you again in similar fashion, broken down by previous week's season average and season total. Shows you how often you had no safety issues, how often you did have a safety issue, or how many tackles were no contact. On the right, it goes further into detail by explaining and showing exactly how often those specific safety elements occurred. The AD dashboard is great for programs, school districts, school administrators, and even to show parents as well that your program is taking the essential steps in order to keep the players safe on the field. The next advancement we will get into is our Atavus tackle rating. And this is going to be a comprehensive rating of players' tackle performance. With our Atavus tackle ratings, we're looking at comprehensive scores in the areas of overall performance and safety. These can be done for players, position groups, or teams as a whole. When it comes to the safety rating, we're looking at factors such as head contact, shoulder contact, and the safety elements and technique, such as pad level, spinal line, and near shoulder. When it comes to performance, we look at the factors of tackle effectiveness, tackles made, yards after contact given up, as well as the execution of the technique elements from pre-contact and contact. And lastly, the overall rating. This is a combined score of the performance and safety ratings to give a clear picture, an all-encompassing picture of how well the tackler is able to execute and perform the Atavus tackle system and technique. So as you can see in the bottom, we have detailed below poor, fair, good, great, and elite zones. And so with each score tallied up, you're now able to clearly see and quickly see as well visually where a player, team, or position group may stand. And again, what this has done is that it's given a very comprehensive, wide view of how well a player, team, or position group is able to execute the given elements of the Atavus tackle system as a whole. The last of our innovative and new reports that we will get into are our individual tackle assessments. The individual tackle assessment provides an in-depth analysis for individual players. It empowers coaches and players to focus on specific areas to improve upon using a data-driven approach. It offers the Atavus tackle ratings, Atavus performance index, key performance indicators evaluation, team contribution, technique analysis, and contact and tackle situation breakdown. So again, this is our Atavus tackle rating. We like to include it as the first part of our individual tackle assessment because again, it does provide a well overall story and a view of how well a tackler did in overall performance and safety. Here we have our Atavus performance index. This takes into account the Atavus tackle ratings, specifically the performance rating and the safety rating. It shows how well a tackler stacks up when combining those two ratings together in a visual display. In the red area of the chart, we have a poor performance and poor safety if a tackler were to be identified there. In the yellow areas, those are where a tackler can be either identified as having done a fair job, as either having poor performance and great safety, or great performance and poor safety. The green area is where our elite tacklers really excel. This is where they have great performance and great safety. So in this section here, we're looking at some of the key performance indicators that we look at. A lot of these we have discussed throughout the presentation, such as tackles made, tackle effectiveness, YAC average, and so on. But you'll see that each element is colored. This relates to the legend at the bottom right. And so what it shows you is that whether or not the player in that specific metric is meeting the standard, or excelling, or underperforming. On the left, we have the charts that indicate how much the player is contributing to the success of a team's tackle performance. So in the first chart, we have how many attempts of the team the player contributes, how many made tackles of the team's total made tackles the player has, how the percentage of YACs, or the amount of YACs that a player gives up of his team, and we'll also have the average yards from scrimmage or player makes contact. In this section of the individual tackle assessment, we're taking a much more visual approach to things. On the top, we have tackle effectiveness, tackles made, and YAC average displayed by a week-by-week fashion. And in the bottom, we're looking at the tackle elements. So starting with the chart on the left, for tackle effectiveness and tackles made, you can see how well they are performing week to week with those given metrics, and if they're meeting the current standard of Atavus. So those Atavus standards are displayed with the black and yellow lines corresponding to the given metric, and the goal is to be above those lines. On the right, you have the YAC average graph, which shows how many YACs that a player gives up per tackle attempt on a weekly basis. And so the goal there is to be below that green line and be in the green area, because we want the least amount of YACs per tackle attempt. On the bottom, we have the tackle elements that are part of pre-contact and contact that we have discussed before. These show the success rates of each element. So how often is the athlete performing these elements successfully? On the right, we have a legend of elite, great, good, fair, and poor. And so now, even without having to explain the graphs to players, they're able to clearly see through the colors and charts of where they stand in terms of performance on a whole level. When we talk about tackle effectiveness and yak average, as well as on an elements-based level, and shows which areas should they really focus on. So here we have our contact performance. We are able to break down a tackler's performance based on what part of the body he makes contact with. On the left, we are showing how often they make contact with that specific body part that we track. So we have the head, shoulder, chest, non-body, which is arm contact, and no contact, which is when a player should have made contact but fails to do so. Each of the colors indicates whether or not they meet the Atavus standard in terms of making contact. On the right is a breakdown of his performance based on his primary contact. So we have tackles made percentage, tackle effectiveness, yak per attempt, and then our last two, explosive plays and explosive yak. Those are any plays that result in yards after contact being 10 or more. And so we have broken it down to shoulder, chest, body contact, which is shoulder plus chest, non-body, no contact, and head contact. And so what each of these metrics showing is their performance of when that specific body part made contact. Lastly, we're going to look at tackle situation performance. And so similar to shoulder contact, we can break down a player's performance based on the type of tackle and situation that he makes. So we're looking at tackles made, tackle effectiveness, yak per attempt, and so on, based on when he made positive tackle attempts, so positive situations, profile and angle tackles, or negative situations, when he attempted a lateral or chase tackle. We also show the percentage of attempts that the player made in the given situation. More often than not, negative tackles are made or attempted more often. At the bottom, we have the pre-contact and contact main issues. So we can tell you that in a positive situation, this player's main issue in pre-contact is footwork base, and in contact is striking with the near shoulder. Then when we talk about negative situations, we can say a lot of his issues came because he did a poor job of closing space, but again, also his main issue is striking with the near shoulder. And so these are the insights that, given the data that we see, that players can act upon, and coaches as well, to improve in the areas that they're, in the types of situations they find themselves most often in. So if this player ends up being in negative situations more often, he really needs to focus on closing space and striking with the near shoulder. The last thing we will discuss is our different levels of Tacklytics that we offer. We have Tacklytics to offer at all levels. Anywhere from, as a program, getting your feet wet with us, starting with a program assessment, or going fully integrated with Atavus Tacklytics. As you go from a program assessment to core, to select, to Tacklytics, you get more and more reports, access to data, and coaching resources as well. There's something for every program at every level to get started with Atavus Tacklytics. So that completes our discussion today on the science of tackling and how Atavus uses a data-driven approach to improve programs and players' tackling performance and safety using our Tacklytics database and tackle system. I want to thank everyone for joining me today on this. Hopefully there was one thing at least that you could bring away from it and take away from it that you can bring back to your program that makes you rethink how you view tackling going forward. Our game is continuing to change, and as coaches we need to change with it. Atavus helps give coaches the resources and the tools in order to do so, and provides the data and statistical feedback that supports and helps programs make those changes and be successful.